Welcome to CEO Intronet. I'm your host, Patti Owens, and we have a great topic for you today. We are joined by two CEOs who are taking on enormous competitors in their industries. So we're going to talk about how to slay Goliath. Let's meet our members.
I'm Nick Bayer, CEO of Saxby's Coffee, based here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
I'm Fredda Herz Brown. I'm CEO of Relative Solutions, based in New York City, New York.
Richard Stamps, CEO of Total Access Medical, based right here in Ballackinwood.
So Nick, let's start with you. You are running Saxby's, which is taking on Starbucks, and
Yes.
that is a pretty impressive demand.
Thank
What
you.
made you decide to take that plunge?
I think in the simplest form, I think opportunity. You know, in 2005, Starbucks was opening 6 new units a day in the U.S. But when we dug a little bit deeper and looked at the industry, we noticed that there were about 19,000 mom and pop coffee shops flourishing. They were actually significantly larger than even Starbucks. So we saw an opportunity to sort of combine the best of both worlds, the locality and authentic experience you get at independent coffee shops with the identity and brand awareness and consistency that comes with Starbucks. And so we created a franchise model to be able to blend the two. And 6 years in, we're pretty pleased with what we're doing.
Well, I had to imagine that there were people who told you were nuts.
I didn't have many people that told me otherwise. Actually, every single person told me I was absolutely crazy, including my parents. But they knew how committed I was, and unfortunately, I was surrounded by some really good people that helped make this dream much more of a reality.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And Richard, you've taken on healthcare in its entirety. I mean, what were you thinking?
I can relate to Nick a lot because almost 3 years in, until somebody actually told me they thought it was a great idea and I was doing the right thing. But you know, it's a sort of an internal knowledge. I think Nick will know that there's a real opportunity there, and that, you know, sometimes the hardest things come with a little bit of effort. You got to push that ball up the hill sometimes instead of just letting it roll down.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Fredda, you consult to so many businesses who've been in this position. What do you think when you hear two CEOs who have been in this position?
I was just thinking about how so many families that I work with want to create entrepreneurs, and yet they end up giving them too much or talking negatively about their stories. And I was thinking about, you know, each of you having a dream and pursuing the dream, and also knowing that you're hungry enough to pursue the dream and to find a niche to be able to do it and to get the support around you to be able to do it. And that's really so important in doing that.
So there's passion underneath the
Has to be
drive.
passion.
If you're going to go up against an established competitor, you better darn well be committed to it. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Richard probably would back me up on this. It's been the most challenging thing I've ever taken on in my entire life, and so it's as I learned, I was a corporate guy for a while, and then going into the entrepreneurial venture, there's not a lot of support there for you. It's if you don't work hard and have success, payday doesn't come. And that's a really quick, sobering event for a new entrepreneur, and so it tested me right away, and that's when I knew, when it actually made me want to work harder and make me want to be that much more successful. That's when I knew I was doing the right thing.
But you're also talking, people often think of CEOs as sort of self-focused, self-interested, having their idea and they're going to push. But I think the one thing that they don't realize is exactly what you're saying, which is that you take on the responsibility for so many others. The minute you start, it's immediate. The minute you start going into an area, you're all of a sudden responsible for all these other people who are looking to you.
It's a great,
to do
great point, Fredda. I mean, it really is. We made some very tough decisions in the past 5 years of this company, and it was always with our franchisees at heart. Our franchisees, as much as we on the corporate team have put into this business, our franchisees in many instances have put their entire life savings. They've leveraged their future based on their own
And they're dependent
entrepreneurial.
upon you.
They totally are. And that's when I realized it is so much more than me and my corporate team. It's about our franchisees and the experiences they obviously deliver to their customers. So you're 100% right.
Richard,
And that relates exactly to my business, because I'm trying to take a physician who's been practicing in a traditional style for 15, 20, maybe even 30 years, and they need to change the axis totally.
Right.
They need to forget about the insurance companies, they need to forget about the hospitals, and they need to start worrying about patients and worrying about themselves. And it's a tremendous responsibility you take on yourself that they have to believe in you, and you have to believe in yourself more that it's going to be right.
Well, you both have models, it seems to me, that really have franchisees. You have two levels of people that you're sort of selling to. One
Absolutely.
is your franchisees, getting them on board, and then having them sell the product out there, and you, the same sort of thing. So
That's
you've
right.
got to think in a much more complex
Yeah,
way,
I
and you're
have to-
responsible on so many different levels.
We have to transition patients on an individual daily basis as he's selling cups of
Right,
coffee, but he also has to
exactly.
get the franchisor, and I have to get the physician in place to be able to provide that. And I think Nick and I can both agree that we've done it all. We've done every job there is. He's probably pressed the espresso, and I haven't drawn the blood, but I've been there to fill the...
It's good for you that you haven't done that.
But I've been there to fill the cabinets with the supplies. So that's made us both a full understanding of what it takes to make it.
Do you think, given that complexity, that it's helpful to have sort of a clear and honest enemy out there, a real Goliath that you are going after? Does that give you clarity and help you make your priorities obvious?
Well, mine's a little different because we're doing something totally opposite to the way anybody would think. So we're starting something that's totally new and something that people think they should be getting for free, but realizing they might need to pay for it. Whereas I think Nick is taking a stab because he realizes that a big company is leaving a lot on the table.
But your Goliath is the healthcare delivery system.
That's right.
I mean, that is a pretty big Goliath. I mean, we may say that there isn't anything else to compare to it, but you couldn't have a larger Goliath. Some people, unless they run into the healthcare delivery system, really don't even know the difficulties with it. So you are slaying a really big dragon out there.
Yeah, and most people value their physician at the copay.
Right.
And it's really worth a lot more than that.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
It is. I mean, I think to back up what Richard's saying, it really it drives me and my team to see Starbucks out there. You can't open up the newspaper or any sort of publication to not read something about Starbucks, especially right now. And one of the things that we definitely have little celebrations in the office is seeing Starbucks start to certainly acknowledge and change some things, because local independent coffee shops a la Saxby's are doing some things better than they are. And that allows us, loyalty cards, being able to make what we call a fro latte, an ice blended drink with any different type of milk. We've done that since our existence. And Starbucks is just now getting into those things. And that obviously really impassions the entire team and makes us very proud of what we're doing.
I don't have a Goliath in some ways, but I am the only female in my industry. So for me, it's like, how do I bring the feminine side of consulting to the work that I do with families? In addition, I was thinking about who my Goliath is. I was presenting at a board meeting the other day, and I was wondering who my competitors were on the beauty list. I always call it a beauty contest, because being a woman, I can say it's a beauty contest. The guys would not describe it as a beauty contest, but in walks, without me even seeing him, and I knew they had several competitors there before me. In walks one of my competitors, doesn't even say anything, but puts his hand on my shoulder, and all of a sudden it got crystal clear what I had to do to make that client. Because once your competitors are identified in terms of having a Goliath, it wasn't particularly a Goliath, but having who your competitor is, you know exactly what you have to speak to, because I knew exactly what they were doing, and I knew exactly what I would have to do. And not only that, knowing what your customer has to hear in order for you to be able to get it. You may not think about it every time you're in a room, but it's always there.
Right.
And it sounds as though, quite honestly, what I'm hearing is that these are three CEOs who are on a hero's journey of their own, and that the enemy here, the Goliath here, the dragon, has been a really focusing point for their businesses. I want to thank them so much for joining us. I'm Patti Owens. Have a great day.